Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Thursday, May 22nd of 2025, and on this show, I bring users' builds up on stream, giving them personalized feedback and advice about things I think they can do differently in their builds to help improve their post-contest sim ROIs and ultimately help them build and submit stronger lineups into their contests. So we do this show once a week, typically on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. I did move the show to Thursday this week and last week just due to some scheduling stuff. So I appreciate you guys being flexible. If you ever want to get signed up for a show, the easiest way to do that, one of two ways. One, you can email us, support@sabersim.com. Two, you can post in the office hours channel in our Discord server. Let me know the following info. Let me know what date, what sport, what site and slate you want reviewed, and I will add you to the list for the next show. So that'll look something like, hey, Andrew, can you review my DraftKings MLB main slate lineups from Tuesday, May 20th? You give me that information. Should be everything I need. If I need anything else additional, I will be sure to ask and follow up. But typically, that's good enough. All right. So for today, we have one person signed up today. We had Jim sign up. We are going to be looking at his MLB main slate lineups from Sunday, May 18th. So let's get SaberSim up on the screen. And I already have Jim loaded up here. So as always, we're going to start in the contest tab. All right. So Sunday, contest selection looks pretty good here. I'm pretty happy with that. You know, taking a couple shots in some of these bigger ones, totally okay. Allocating most of their entries into lower stakes contests, and then even mixing in some single entries and 3 maxes. Okay, this is good. I like this. If I had to say anything, I would say go one step further. Start with the dime times, go to the quarter jukebox, and then get to your 50-cent mini max, right? So it's okay to enter less than the maximum in your contest. If you want to take, $10 for your quarter jukebox and in dime times and put those and then take that $10 out of your mini max, that's totally fine thing to do, right? So just consider, starting all the way at the bottom and then working your way. I typically recommend sorting the lobby lowest entry fee to highest here and going that way. So that's just my small advice there. Nothing crazy. But with that said, let's study the mini max here because you had the most entries in that one. So that'll give us a little bit better sample size to analyze the lineups with. So let's go over to users. Let's go people who won 50, sort by sim ROI. All right. So Jim, -2% sim ROI, right? But if we look at this, highest is about 5% and 1%, 1%, 0, and then it gets quickly into the negative. So Jim, on the list here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th here on the list. This is in general great, right? If you are one of the top 20 maxers, right? I'm like, hey, if you're in the 10 to 20 range, you're doing awesome. You're building strong lineups. So I don't want to give the impression that these are bad lineups. I think these are actually really good lineups. I just think that maybe this is a contest you might want to stay away from, okay? Simply based on the sim ROIs. We're actually talking about this on office hours today. Hold on one sec. Sorry, just had to sneeze real quick. We were talking about this on office hours today, right? If you go and you say you have, $75-ish and you're trying to figure out where to play it. Well, if you go and look like the mini max, right? Some of these sim ROIs are pretty low. But then if we go and look at, say, the $4.20 max, which was the example in question, go look at the 4-seamer. Go over to users, go over to maxers, sim ROI. So see, there's a lot more. Well, one, there's a lot higher sim ROIs, but then even double-digit sim ROIs, right? We see, 10 to 15 people in the 10 to 20 sim ROI range, and then way more people in positive single digit, right? If I had to make any recommendation here, I would say take the same process you're doing in the mini max and then come and do it in the $4.20 max. And I'm pretty sure your sim ROIs are going to be higher simply just based on the format here, right? This is a great example of why contest selection is so important. I think you could have the same process in both and have wildly different sim ROIs just based on number of entries allowed, number of entrants in your contest, how many people it takes to max the contest, right? Because if it takes more users to max out a contest, then the idea is that there will be some worse lineups in there. But if it takes less people to max out the contest, well, now you might end up playing against stronger competition on average, where there are just not as many bad lineups paying the rake, right? So, the rake in these contests is, 15-ish%, right? So not only do you have to win the 15% back, and the rake is taken into account in the sim ROIs, but then you need to, profit on top of that, right? So in my opinion, in those mini maxes, it's pretty hard to just even break the rake, because I think there are enough good lineups in some of those smaller contests where there's not as many bad lineups. But it seems like there's a little bit more edge in like the $4.20 max. So first thing I would do is simply just take your process, which looks good sim ROI rank wise, and just try it in the $4.20 max. Okay, so start with that adjustment. Now going a step further, going to your lineups. So we see a build, we see a swap. Okay, I really like this swap, and I really like the timing of the swap. Okay, because if you look, there's like a big batch of games all within like a 35-minute window. So not that much is played even from the first game, right? It is a 10:05 Pacific time. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games locked by 10:40. So like there's really one game, and then like a big window of like 6 games. And then before the last games on the slate all start within this 10-minute window, they late swapped, right? So like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of anything that's happened in the last hour and all of the live ownership, all the actual ownership, and I'm going to run a late swap before these last 3 games get underway, right? I like that a lot. That gives you the opportunity to account for the actual ownership. If, anything happened in this early Houston, Texas game, if there were any, first inning home runs and part of your stacks, right, in the second batch of games, you're going to account for all that information. So I really like the timing of the late swap. I think you timed it right. So I just wanted to point that out. I think that's a really good thing to do. Now let's go back to your pre-slate build here. All right. So what do we see? So we see a high min salary here, 49.5. It's something we've talked about on these bigger slates. I think the minimum is like 49K, but bumping it up a little more even makes sense. No filters. One rule: don't use batters against opposing pitchers. Like a default rule. I like that. Okay, we get into all tab. No exposures. Nothing in pitcher. Nothing in batters. Nothing in pitchers. Just 2 small projection adjustments, which you need. So that seems good. Nothing in individual positions. Again, seems good. Anything in stack exposures. Allowing all stacks. Pretty hands off here. Nothing in games. Nothing in all stacks or any of the smaller ones either. So pretty hands-off build, okay? But what they're doing, right, they're making a small adjustment to salary. And then in the post build, right, in the autofill, we see a couple filters for lineup filters over here. We see a projection score greater than, so they're filtering out some of the lower projected score lineups. So like not only are they raising minimum salary, they're going an extra step, filtering out some of the lowest projected lineups. And then also they have an ROI greater than 0 filter. So this looks really good, right? I think they're doing a lot of good things. Another thing they're doing, they're using rank fill, right? They're saying, hey, if these lineups are good in more than one contest, feel free to play it more than once, right? I like using rank with ROI. I talk about that. They have 4 or 5 uniques depending on the contest here, right? So getting to some diversification as well. Reminder, if you are it's sorted by price pool technically here, but you don't need to if you're using rank fill. That's not related to the user here. I'm just mentioning that for anybody watching who's not familiar with that. But all in all, I really like this. I like these. These are what I would call like high quality adjustments, right? They're making only a few changes on like a macro level, salary wise, lineup filter wise, but they're pretty hands off with the build. They're letting the builder figure out which kind of like the best lineups to play. Like, hey, I don't really care what kind of lineups you play, but I know that I want my macro aspects of my lineups to look like this, and I want some diversification in my lineups, and they're leaving the rest to the builder here, right? We see that, these lineups graded out well, right, in flashback, and I think they're only going to grade out better when we move them to a different contest. So all in all, really good stuff. We've done a number of reviews with Jim, and I think this is my favorite Jim review so far. So keep it up, Jim. I think you're definitely moving in the right direction here, and really, really like how these lineups look. All right. That was our only review for the week. Reminder, if anybody ever wants me to review their lineups, they want, just a second set of eyes. Maybe you're running bad and you're trying to figure out if you're playing bad or just running bad. Reviews are great for all of those type of things. So send us an email, support@sabersim.com, asking for a review, or post an office hours channel, and I will follow up and we'll get you added to the list for the next show. But appreciate you guys tuning in. I will be back next week. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.